Hello, everyone. The incorrect way to drive with a passenger in your back seat. Now, if it's a family member, there's really no rules because family, friends. Even if it's one of your romantic partners that you have sitting in the back seat because they got on your nerves. I'm not saying that everyone does that, but I believe there's some people out there that behaves that way. No issue at all. However, when you're doing ride share, you have a passenger in the back seat. The incorrect way to drive, there's a few of them. For starters, it doesn't even have to do anything with driving, but let's say the client hops in your back seat and you don't even speak to the client. In fact, not only do you not speak to the client, but time you hear the door close, you just pull off. They don't even get an opportunity to put their seatbelt on. Now that is definitely not the way to go. And I can say this not because I've done this, but there was a time that I took the rideshare app and I got in the back seat. And time I got in and closed my door, the person just pulled straight off. I was like, okay. I didn't know if it was gone in 60 seconds with Nicolas Cage or if he was trying to be in the next Fast and Furious movie. I didn't know. Nevertheless, moving on. An incorrect way to drive with the passenger in the back seat is like if they're talking too loud and you like just turn your music up to drown them out. That definitely is not the way to go. And I'm not saying this because I once was in the back seat of someone's vehicle taking a ride share app and I started talking on the phone. I'm saying this because I had a client get into my vehicle and she was talking pretty loud and I was irritated. And I was like, hey, you can't cuss this woman out because you have to keep it professional. So what I did is I turned the dial up on my music. And my music was bumping. And she was like, hey, can you turn that down? I'm on the phone. And I just gave her this look in the mirror. Not a look like I'll throw you out my vehicle, but it was a look like you're rude. Shortly thereafter, she was like, she told the person, hey, let me call you back. I only have to be in this car for 10 more minutes. So that's what happened. We had a clear understanding. And even if we didn't have a clear understanding, I had to make it clear that you can't be rude like that. You can't just be because I have to, I had to focus on the road at the time. And hey, to my rideshare drivers out there, people that are thinking about getting into rideshare, and even my non-rideshare individuals that have family members that they take around or people that hop in their back seat, they can't just be on shenaniganville, be on shenanigans, distracting you from all the things you have to pay attention to on the road. Because as we know, and my rideshare drivers that currently do it, or my former rideshare drivers, such as myself, or people that just drive on a daily basis, but it's not for rideshare purposes or gig purposes. You need to have a clear mind. You don't need to be distracted and being annoyed. Another incorrect way to drive with the passenger in your car is just not speaking to them. I know it's very minute to some, but to some customers and even to some people, this could be highly major. When people hop into your back seat and like you don't speak to them at all, or when you do speak to them, some don't respond. And it's not that they are being rude sometimes, and I mean sometimes they have their headphones on, so they don't really hear you. I always thought that was interesting because when I took the rideshare app sitting in the back seat of someone's car, one, I never had my AirPods in. But if I did and I was hopping into a stranger's car, I would take it out my ear and speak to the driver. I mean, it only makes sense. mean, he or she is already a stranger. I mean, all I did was read their rating, saw the comments of other individuals, and I took a risk. So the least I can do is speak and make sure, let's try to start it off on a good foot because my life would be in his or her hands, literally. So another incorrect way to drive is doing rush hour. You have a client in the whip, and you know that the highways are busy. To just assume the way that you want to go is the right way. I think what is a positive thing to do, or which can seem like you're taking their opinion into consideration. They feel more a part of the ride, and if it doesn't work out, they won't blame you. You say, "Hey, um, I'm just making up a name. Hey, David, it's rush hour. So, do you have a specific way you would like me to take you?" Just to give David the option. And for me personally, when I would ask a client that because it was rush hour, I did like when they gave me a suggestion. Not that I didn't already have my own plan of action because I did. And sometimes me and the client had the same plan of action. But on the strength that we did not have the plan of action, and I've had this happen before, well, I would take the route that the client gave me, and we run into a gang of traffic. And guess what happened? He was mad. But guess who he was mad at? He was mad at himself. I remember him saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, I gotta send this." And for a moment, I was like, damn, I thought I was the driver. But I understood what he was saying, that it was his intel that had us come to this standstill. And I told him, I was like, hey, it's all right. And the reason why it was all right to me at that time, because you can't force the vehicles to move. Another thing is the route that he thought was a different route, that was the same route I was going to take. So I didn't divulge that information because it was so unnecessary. But it was still a positive ride. It ended well. So another incorrect way to drive with the passenger in the car is, I don't know why this is, but some passengers get in the car and they don't want to put their seatbelt on. Because the way I did it, once I picked up the client, I gave him a minute to get situated, and there were times I would pull off and they wouldn't have their seatbelt on. No, I'm not looking at my passenger through the rear view mirror, if that's what you all are wondering. However, I get the notification from my vehicle that is annoying, beeping. So I would say, hey, can you put your seatbelt on? If you don't put your seatbelt on, this annoying sound is going to continue. And it was never an issue. But to just drive the client around and they don't have their seatbelt on, that is definitely the incorrect way to drive. For common sense purposes, for those that may not know that it's common, you have car collisions, aka car accidents. And they could happen 2 miles from the destination, 2 miles from wherever you're taking the client. So you get in a car collision, they don't have their seatbelt on. As the great Kanye West once said, "Thank God for the seatbelt." So I always try to make sure all the clients have their seatbelts on because that's the correct way to drive with a passenger inside your vehicle. So yes, I just wanted to bring you all this video today. Make sure and hit the link and grab my book. And when you grab my book, make sure you tell a friend, you tell a family member. And if you don't tell a friend or a family member, make sure you tell an enemy, because if you tell an enemy, it's a high chance that you all become associates or you all become great friends. Like, share, subscribe on my page. Feel free to make any comments or ask any questions. And that's all for today. You all continue to have a good one, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace.